Well, I only got a couple people asking questions, so it's not much to say, and this video will maybe be public, so that everyone can know, because I haven't uploaded a video in a month or two. I promised a video to my patrons, a Q&A video, and I only got a couple people asking questions, so I'm going to turn this into a channel update, rambly playthrough of Sonic Megamix thing. So it's not much of a value add, because I'm here kind of unscripted, slightly scripted, you're going to hear me scrolling through my notes, and playing a very easy game quite badly. The reason I'm playing Megamix is because Mania isn't out yet, and I'm very excited for Mania. I'm excited for Forces as well, but for very different reasons. I'm playing Megamix as Shadow for a very big reason, and that is because you can play as many characters in Megamix. Both Sonic and Shadow get the homing attack, and they each get a double jump. Well, Sonic gets a horizontal dash, but Sonic 1 was not designed with a double jump in mind. And you may think, oh, that's going to turn the game into a cakewalk. And it does, absolutely. But there's a catch. There was once a proposal on how to lower traffic accidents. I don't know the complete story, but one of the best proposals to make people drive safer was putting a big bloody spike on the steering wheel. The idea in mind being you'd be a lot less likely to crash if a big spike was to your neck, as going fast would seem incredibly stupid. On the flip side of this thought, if you feel safer, the chance of crashing goes up, since taking risks seems less impactful. And what I'm basically saying is, having a double jump turned me into a cocky shithead, and this footage is bad. And it will play until I'm done talking, so hopefully I run out of things to say before I really embarrass myself. And you can watch it to see me fumble, or treat this as a podcast, and the latter is probably more dignified for me. You don't get the double jump in these special stages, so I still have to play those normally. People don't really like these special stages, but I'm out on them. At least I think that's the popular consensus, is people don't like them. Shadow also has another move, but I haven't figured that out yet. I just kind of know it in the back of my head, like, he should be able to do something else. I learn it in Labyrinth Zone, where it's practically useless. So, the next game I'm reviewing is Evil Genius. Spoiler alert, it's rather slow, and that's only part of why the video has been so slow to get out there. First off, my old computer, which I made many of my videos on, has finally gone on me, and I am on a new machine. And it's rather nice to be on something that I think could be considered on the beefier side again. It's not high-end, it's mid-range, it's more than what I need, basically. It's fine for me. And then, so I got the new computer, and then a couple days later I went with my family for a holiday for a couple weeks, which was very nice. A couple weeks in the English countryside in the Isle of Sheppey. It's a very slow-paced sort of place. I like being there for a little bit, but living in London my whole life has basically spoiled me, because I'm used to just the convenience of everything being everywhere. I could walk for 15 minutes in any direction, high streets, fucking shops, fucking restaurants, cafes, pubs, everything. It's all here. And considering I'm sort of in indie film, I'm dependent on being here. I'm quite happy here. But still, while I was down there, I did some writing for a web series I want to make. Me and a few friends want to start a production company up, and that web series is going to be our like, you know, thing to get us going, essentially. It's called Please Do Subscribe at the moment. If you want to kind of see the style I am going for, the video Patreon on my channel is a big indicator of it. Except this will be a mockumentary, and streaming will not be the subject matter. I like what I did with Patreon, but it's very obviously a beginner's effort. It was made for university. I wrote and directed it, and I am by no means a director. With this, I've been consulting with friends a lot more. I want to be a better writer, and I want Please Do Subscribe to be a step in that direction. This all said, that side project, that's on me. This will not affect my video reviews. I want to keep these projects... I don't consider my reviews a project, I just consider them what I like doing. I want to keep them very separate. And I'm sort of saying this here, announcing that series, to make me get off my arse and work on it more. I've got several episodes written, a couple have been redrafted, and I have a treatment written down. And now that it exists in your heads, that's more incentive for me to make it, you know, exist in reality. And I like this stage because there's that old saying, you know, hold right to win, which isn't true of old Sonic, but in Megamix, it's basically mash A to win, because homing attack, double jump, this stage is absolutely fantastic as Shadow for this reason. It's pure bullshit. The most fun I had in this fucking playthrough is just, oh my god. Green Hill Zone Act 3 just turns into a joke. And the boss does not fare very well. Sorry, what was I talking about? Yes, so following Evil Genius, after that it's Pac-Man World Series, and that's a request from a mate of mine. That's going to be all 3 games in one video, hopefully. I don't know much about that series, but he told me it goes in very interesting directions, and he's told me not to look up too much about it. And once I've finished playing through them, he's going to fill me in on why some things are the way they are, and then I can start writing, so I am very interested to see how that goes. And after that, it's Yakuza 1. And I am looking forward to starting the Yakuza series. I'm not very much looking forward to replaying Yakuza 1, and this will be original Yakuza 1, probably emulated, because I've not got the equipment to record a PS2 very well. I'm thinking of, like, asking some other YouTubers how the bloody hell they go about that, so I can actually record PS2 properly, because there's several games that just don't emulate very well that I want to cover. Shadow of Rome, in particular, is a very interesting one for me. But Yakuza 1 is the first of my Patreon goals. That's the 100 quid reward. And it pretty much, as I get 100 quid, 200 quid, for each 100 quid, it basically is another stretch goal. So Yakuza 1 was the first. And then I start adding a little bit more each one. So 200 quid is Yakuza 2, and I'm going to start doing bi-weekly streams. I mean, as you can no doubt tell from this video, I'm not a very entertaining person off the cuff, so I'm going to have to coerce some of my friends into being on that with me, so I've got someone to bounce off of, and I will not hopefully be less boring. Also just figure out, I think 200 quid gives me some time to work out, once I start approaching it, if I start approaching it, what kind of games I want to cover on a stream. I want to look for more weird stuff that isn't quite worthy of a full video, but is interesting to play around with, stream with, that kind of thing. This culminates, my last stretch goal that actually counts is 800 quid, and I'm not looking forward to doing that one, which I know sounds bad, but it'll be interesting. That is reviewing a LARP site. I know a couple in England, never been LARPing, but I'll treat it like one of my regular reviews, and I'll treat it with respect. I won't just make a fucking joke, because I play tabletop RPGs. It's a step up in nerdiness, but it's fine. I actually do legitimately want to try LARPing at some point, like, no shame there, actually, for all I'm saying about fucking, oh, that's nerdy shit. I do actually want to try it. I just need to be paid first. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, questions. If you are a patron, please feel free to ask me shit going forward. DBZ King 119 asks, and there are several questions here. 1. What's your real name? You did point out, feel free not to answer this if it feels weird. It kind of does, but you can actually find it out on this very channel. It's Patrick Fisher Murphy. Don't know why I said there, like I had to think about it. And this is going to sound really bloody conceited, especially after that, but I quite like my own name. 2. What kind of music do you like? I'm a huge music lover myself, and it's always one of the first things I want to know about YouTubers I watch. I mostly do actually listen to soundtracks, particularly video game soundtracks. I always feel weird saying that, even though it's true. I saved a bunch of playlists of game soundtracks that I do particularly like. They're in the playlist section on my channel, but that is by no means a comprehensive list of soundtracks that I do really love. As for genres outside of games, I mostly like 70s and 80s pop, cheesier the better in some cases, rock, ska, and metal. I'll listen to any genre, really. If I just happen to like the song, I don't really consider myself, like, really, really massively into one genre. Like, I'll say that's my genre. That's just what I mostly end up listening to, of individual songs. And I do have a bad habit of hearing a track I really like and then not checking out the artist further. So I've got a wide spread of songs I really like without digging deeper into the musician's discography. I think the only, like, band musicians that I have ever listened to and like, okay, I'm just gonna listen to more of this was Queen. So, and a bit of David Bowie actually. And Electronic Light Orchestra. Something that annoyed me recently on Spotify, I could not find a good playlist for 80s pop until I looked in the fucking new gaming section that existed, and I felt disgusted just clicking on the gaming section. Which I think speaks something of me, but it's like, oh, there was actually a good playlist of pop in there from, you know, 70s, 80s, and 90s as well, actually. It was just called, the playlist is just called Retro Gaming, and that had some good picks. better than the bloody decades section of Spotify. If I had to pick a favourite song, it's probably Mr. Blue Sky by the Electronic Light Orchestra. Some other favourites are Life on Mars by David Bowie, All the World is Green by Tom Waits, I Speed at Night by Dio. As you can tell, I've actually written down these so I could more quickly recall them. I don't know if I call it a favourite, but September by Earth, Wind and Fire, I end up listening to that song a lot, going back to it. And I'll finish off with, I really like Land Down Under by Men at Work, and I just monumentally fucking beefed it. I forgot about that. I've forgotten about all my own failings. I'm going to try and make up for that with the fact that I know a lot of little hidden nooks in the wall in this stage. There is one thing I regret with playing Megamix with the old Sonic stages. You can choose to either play the stages made for this hack, at least I think they're made for this hack. I'm not massively into the Sonic hacking community thing. I just downloaded a few hacks I liked, and Megamix is one I ended up playing a lot, but on the original stages, it has different music. I don't think they're original tracks, it's mostly from other Genesis games, and funnily enough with this question about music, there are quite a few tracks, maybe one or two, from the Moonwalker game. And it was really surreal listening to that for the first time and just going, oh yeah, it's fucking Michael Jackson, and it's really good for a Sonic game. It's fitting, what was Sonic 3 and all. Question 3. What is your favourite video game of all time? It's probably Metal Gear Solid 3. I say that since it's my most consistent answer. Great gameplay and story, bunch of interesting systems backing up that core gameplay, save for the menu hopping to change camo, but I mostly just picked the camo that was most efficient everywhere, and I could get through the game quite happily with that. I never really found it too much of an issue. And it's just a really fucking good game. Super Bunny Hop made a great video on why Metal Gear Solid 3 is fantastic, and I'm probably never going to review it myself, just on that note. I say probably since, if you ask me that question, and depending on mood, I may change my answer, but like I said, Metal Gear Solid 3 is my most consistent answer. Resident Evil 4 would be another good pick, Metal Gear Rising, Mountain Blade Warband, Persona 4, Fistful of Frags. I made a tweet recently with my top 5, and while it was an honest answer there, and it's an honest answer here, I realised whenever I answer something about what is my favourite thing, I'd have to take time to consider it, and it will be different day to day. Like, I can gush about different games just depending on what mood I'm in. Like, I was around a mate's house the other day, and I realised I talk about fucking Sonic a lot with a mate of mine to a really ridiculous degree. I just realised how much I remembered about the bloody Sonic Adventure 2 fucking storyline and how fucking weird it is for a kid's game. I've had that conversation a lot more than bloody well should have. While I was getting the shit kicked out of me in Smash. I haven't played Smash in years. Well, nearly anyway. For question 4, what kind of cartoons did you watch growing up, or TV in general? It's funny, I didn't watch many cartoons as a kid. I remember when I was really small, it was mostly typical British kids programming, stuff like Postman Pat, Noddy, those weird old puppet shows that I think my brain is mostly blocked out since, if you look at them as adult, they look creepy more than anything else. I think I watch more cartoons nowadays, what with anime and such. I mean, obviously I did watch Simpsons as a kid, and I watch Simpsons for a lot of my life, like every day. But for the most part I watched old British sitcoms like Fawlty Towers, Father Ted and so on. I remember watching the movie Rat Race a ton, and for the record my favourite sitcom is Black Books. That's, again, my most consistent answer when asked. TV though, I remember when I was 11, and for most of my teenage years, I got really, really into stand-up comedy. The first comedian I watched was Lee Evans, and I went on to watch Peter Kay, Al Murray, and as I got a bit older and a bit more into it, Bill Bailey, Ed Byrne, Dara O'Brien, Stephen Wright, Reginald D. Hunter, Rich Hall, George Carlin, and my favourite comedians are Dylan Moran and David Gorman, and I'm pretty sure if I sat down longer, I could recall more comedians. If you've never watched or read Google Whack Adventure by David Gorman, you owe it to yourself. It's a fun story. I don't watch as much stand-up nowadays, but I still skim it. Okay, so I mentioned way earlier on about how the double jump made me cocky and fucked me over more than anything else. This boss fight is... there. That's the example. This boss fight is... yep. That double jump should turn this boss fight into the easiest fight in the world, but You know, most of the time I play this boss when I'm just playing regular Sonic 1, I can just breeze this boss fight, but giving the double jump has actually made me play worse because I'm being a cocky shit. I'm not blaming the game, I'm blaming myself. For just thinking, double jump, yeah, I gotta spam the double jump. Just because I'm a fucking moron. Anyway, yeah. Bye, Robotnik. I do consider stand-up comedy to be an absolutely fantastic medium, and it's probably my biggest influence on how I like to write things, how I like to treat things. I don't consider my fucking stuff a stand-up act. It's nowhere near that good, obviously, but it's what I take a lot of influence from. Question 5, and this is a very interesting question. A lot of these are interesting questions, but this one I particularly do like. What made you decide to start doing YouTube in the first place? And the actual answer is strange, and I don't think you'll expect the kind of origin, and I'll get to it in a moment. I want to start off with an odd note about myself, despite all the bloody sidetracks that already happened. I used to take recordable VHS tapes and record my me playing PS2. Like, you know, whack that in the VCR and just record the gameplay footage. Obviously, it didn't have commentary and so on. And it was mostly police chases in Vice City and Jak 2. I used to, like, turn on, you know, slow motion cheat, get on a Sanchez in Vice City, and then just go on police chases, like trying to ramp off cars and so on. And I had a lot of fun doing that. Man. I overwrote a lot of my dad's tapes of, like, old detective shows for this shit to no real end. But yeah, I've been recording myself playing video games from way before YouTube. It's just that YouTube gave this bullshit a purpose. I would have definitely ended up making videos on here at some point in some fashion. I always liked talking about video games. I always liked making videos. And it's through games that I've made most of the closest friends I have. I like having a place I can put more thought into my hobby, can try figuring things out, get more out of the games I already own. So anyway, back to what started this. I was on the Facepunch forums in 2011, and at the time they had a Minecraft sub-forum. And a bloke came along named... I was thinking of saying who it was, but I'm not going to in case he ever comes back and just doesn't want me saying it. He came along with a proposal to make a Machinima movie in Minecraft. And I used to love Machinima. I still kind of do. I love the idea of it. I love the fact that it's making a film in a restricted engine where you've got to work with just the animations that the game gives you, with the models the game gives you, that kind of thing. I don't mind, like, mods expanding your options, but I just love the purity of a Machinima that's just made with just the in-game assets. And I still get an itch every once in a while, and even wrote up a short treatment of a schlocky detective drama in a Gary's Mod roleplay server. But anyway, me at the time, I signed the fuck up for that shit, obviously, because I was only slightly less of an idiot than I am now. And the movie obviously never happened. I don't know if you would have heard of it if it did. It was like a kind of pulpy adventure narrative, obviously with Minecraft trappings. The furthest we got was building the main city where it was going to take place, and we got way too into making the city, like, authentic, so places that you'd probably never see were built up. And it was a very weirdly managed project. Like, the guy who was heading it barely turned up. It was only me and about 5 or 6 other people. And it was those 5 or 6 people, and I'm no longer in touch with them. But we decided, fuck it, when that guy disappeared, let's make our own Minecraft series. As, you know, he disappeared. And we never made that series either. But we started a playthrough channel. I started my own channel and was uploading weird shit here. Mostly GTA 4 clips that I made in the Movie Maker. Actually, I think that predates it, sorry. But anyway, that group fell apart. It was during this period, however, I did start a project, a review project that's kind of like the videos I make now, and it never came to fruition, and it was called Dicky Days. It was a very simple premise. I was going to review every game made by the guy M. Dickey in chronological order. He made, most famously, the U Testament, and the game I played most was Hard Time. They're very janky, not very good, but very strange. I still have the first review I made for it, which is a game that you can no longer get, and I can't remember the name of, even though I rewatched that video I made recently. This was made in 2011, I believe. And it's funny how it's sort of close to my current style, more so than the style I had starting out, but a lot more heavy on jokes and jabs at the creator, and it's not very good. It's not a good video. I'm not going to release it. I think I made 3 of them. I think I got through 3 games. I remember the last one I made was Sure Shot. I wanted to have the series complete before I put out any of the videos, and then release them one a day in December of 2011, I believe it was. And maybe review his books as well as like a side video project, because he made a few books. And obviously, none of that happened. And at some point during all of this, a commentary group was holding auditions for new members, and I tried for that and I didn't make it in. But I started posting on their forums, because like the audition made me think, well, I may as well post on the forums and see how this audition competition thing is going. But it's through that forum that I met another group of people, and we didn't form, sorry. I'm gonna get yelled at now because it already existed, it's commentary comms. And I joined them in 2012 and have been bullshitting with them since, and I still have fun doing it. And getting to what started the reviews, the head of that group and friend of mine, Noonam, pestered me, and I can't remember why, to make a review of The Sims 3. I don't remember what the impetus for it was. I don't know if he proposed the idea to me, or if I was like saying, I want to make a review, and he picked the game. I don't remember. I don't remember which one of us you can blame, essentially. We'll give credit to Noonam on this one. The first draft of it was fucking shit. It was terrible. It was like a kind of science experiment. It was like, oh, you know, Sims live their life in this way. It was kind of nature doc-ish science. It was awful. I hated it. I wrote a couple pages, reread it, and despised it. That was in October of that year. And if you look back at the video, the Sims 3 review came out in December, so there were rewrites, and it was more a style I could write without despising myself. But yeah, essentially, there was a failed project, which led into a failed project, which led to a commentary group where I was pestered into making reviews. And I'm glad I was pestered, so thank you, Noonam. You can take credit for however far this bullshit goes. From Karjas Jolnionis, and I absolutely apologise if my pronunciation was awful, please correct me if it was. Are you going to check out Precursors in the future? It's the last game in the Zenith series, so it would be cool to wrap it up, since you've already done Boiling Point and Zenith's White Gold. It's also on Steam last I checked. I don't know why I haven't bought it yet, because I do know it's on Steam, and I definitely will. That series is not going unfinished, because Zenith, for all of its faults, for no matter how long each game can be, for no matter how repetitive, slow, dull, and grindy they can be, they're so fascinating to me that Precursors will not go untouched. I know it's a sci-fi romp, which I'm less into than the contemporary setting, but I need to know how it pans out. I need to see the final game in the series. It won't be for a little bit. I'm still kind of, not recovering, that's obviously melodramatic. It's just, there's other games in the way before that point. If anyone does know any contemporary RPGs with real-time combat, please let me know. I need more of it. Particularly if they're jank. The janker, the better. I know the closest actual, probably living relative to Zenith is Stalker. And I've played those games. Not to completion, mind. It's a series where I start a new game once every few months and enjoy what I play, but for some reason never get to the end. Which is really odd, because by all accounts, Zenith should be harder to actually finish from an entertainment perspective than any Stalker game, but there we go. I know the main character isn't future Sol Myers, but hey, we gotta see someone new. I hold to it that those were different souls in each game. I only know the very basics of the premise of Precursors. Space travel, handful of planets to land on, the faction system works a teensy bit differently unless I've been misled. I want to go in mostly blind, but that's what I've got. Perhaps after Yakuza 1, but don't hold me to that. For most of my time reviewing games, my picks for what to do have been very spur of the moment. It goes from picking a game I like, a sequel in a series I enjoy, or just grabbing a game at complete random like Survivalist and Aces Wild and trying to find interesting elements within it. I like reviewing games that way. I find it interesting, going in totally blank and feeling things out and just trying to find the unique chemistry of a game for the first time. It adds an interesting element to a game. Anyway, basically, yes, I will play Precursors. You don't need to worry about that. So yeah, I just ran out of things to say, but I'm skipping ahead a little bit because you may as well see how this playthrough ended. I did get through a Labyrinth Zone. It's not a very fun zone. I don't hate it as much as other people do, but by god, it is quite boring compared to everything else. But I figured you should have seen how this boss fight went, considering it has a double jump, and if you know your Sonic 1, This is a boss fight that I've always just brute forced. But I did have one or two more things to say. This video did just turn into an excuse for me to play around with Premiere, because I mostly use Vegas to edit my reviews, because I just call Vegas an efficient program, whereas Premiere is a more professional-ish program. And I've edited in Avid before, which was a slow experience. Anyway. Bloody one project that I never got around to that I considered starting before the beginning of the month was a series called Ahead of the Game, which was going to be an excuse basically to make not quite reviews, I'll call them, on early access games on Steam. And I didn't get around to starting that because I don't know how people would feel about it. They'd be like 10-minute videos. The first one, ironically, despite being called Ahead of the Game, when I'd be absolutely behind the curve making this video, would be a video on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which has been my recent addiction. I love that it just trims the fat of all that survival games, just, yeah, Battle Royale, kill everyone. It's a game that fucking 12-year-old me craved, and it's there, and I have it now, and it's like, yeah, it's fine, it's a fun game. I don't care that it's popular as shit. Yeah, it ended in Starlight Zone, the zone that everyone was like, oh, this is what the game Sonic 1 should have been. I'm gonna put a controversial opinion forward. Sonic 1 is my favourite classic Sonic game, and I think saying that explains a bit of how I like jankier games. I like the experimental feel of it. I like they haven't quite figured out what to do with Sonic yet. S3&K is also really good. Sonic 2 is also good. I like it the least out of the classic free Sonic games on Genesis, putting S3&K as one game, which it, it basically is. And the only other game I had for that was RimWorld and a game called Basement, which I haven't played yet, but looked interesting. It was about being a drug dealer out of your basement. I like concepts like that. Yeah, this is how it ended. I could not get free of it. It was quite sad, actually. I was like, at this point, I was more than, like, happy to just, play through the whole of Sonic 1 again as Shadow. I didn't think I was going to get all the Chaos Emeralds. I don't know if you can get all the Chaos Emeralds if you play in original mode on Megamix, but I think Megamix has super forms if you play with the new stages. I don't know. Megamix is a really fascinating hack, though. I'd recommend it if you like old Sonic games, and it's just got a lot of options, a lot to play around with. Very, very fun. When I said earlier in the video Mania isn't out yet, I meant on PC. I could have bought it on PS4, but I just decided to wait. And we got Kiwami later this month, which I'm also gonna get, but not a review. So yeah, that's the end of this sort of QA playthrough ramble. I don't actually know what this video is. It's a horrifying Frankenstein's monster mishmash of things. Basically, yeah, I haven't disappeared again. There are reasons that Evil Genius is slow. I do apologise. Some things were out of my hands, some things weren't. I could be making it right now. I only took an evening out to make this, and I've played a lot of Evil Genius today already, and it's a game where I require breaks, because it's kind of slowish. And I hope you enjoy that video when it comes out. Good night, everybody. Stuck in Starlight Zone forever. You can't say I didn't try to get free.